How are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the July 1st meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance with Vice Mayor Patty Aiken.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One more time, that if you're here to speak on any item, the public comment, you need to sign up. Is anybody that didn't get signed up? Okay. All right. I need to call on town manager, Madam Manager, on motion. I think you have two items you would like to add to the agenda, or one item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Board. If we could add to maybe 7I, we could add a new item. That's discussion on property located at 381 East Main Street.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to add that to the agenda? All right. Second? Second. All in favor? Okay, we'll add it to the agenda. I also need a motion to excuse Mr. Mashburn tonight. All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, the next item is the approval of the June the 5th Town Board minutes. Has everybody had a chance to go over the minutes? Any corrections or additions to it? There seems to be none, so I'll call for a motion to approve as presented. Second? Second. Okay. All in favor? I thought we did, yes. Did we not? Mr. Clerk, did we not adopt the agenda?
I don't think so, Mayor.
Okay, we had a motion and it was approved, so.
Motion to add something to it.
Okay, so thank you for catching that. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as changed. Second? Second. All right, all in favor? All right. So let's go back. Did we do the approval of the town board minutes of June the 5th? I thought we did, okay. All right, I think we're close enough, John, to call for the public hearing, according to the clock on the wall.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, the other next item of business is the public hearing for amendment to the sexually oriented business ordinance. Mr. Setzer, you're up, sir. Ready?
I really don't have much, kind of defer to Town Attorney John Henning to lead this tonight. If there's any questions of what the planning board's recommendation was, I'll be happy to answer them, but with Mr. Henning.
And Mr. Mayor, I was thought when you consider this under 7A for action, I would just lead you through the draft amendment, but suffice it to say, this is the same matter that came before the board briefly last month that you passed along to the planning board. In a nutshell, there are certain requirements about how restrictive you can be as in terms of land use for any kind of an expressive activity, this included. Our ordinance has been overly restrictive, and that's our purpose tonight. So I'll go into further depth about it. I suppose, were there any speakers?
There's no one signed up, sir.
Okay. Please, the board, then I'll just move ahead. If in your agenda packet is a draft amendment, the first two sections deal with removing reference to the privilege license, which you all will recall we don't have the authority to assess anymore. Now we do have a business license that is uniformly required for a very small fee for any kind of business wishing to transact business in the town. The operative portion of this, and the thing we really have to address as a legal matter, is the location, proximity buffer. As is in this draft, the planning board made a recommendation of a 500-foot buffer. The staff recommendation, and it is my recommendation to you, is that a 250-foot buffer is actually legally necessary to have our ordinance pass muster. I can go into further depth about that if there are any questions about it, but my recommendation to you, unless there is any further discussion or questions that I can answer, is to adopt this ordinance with the 250-foot buffer.
Essentially, that means at 500 feet, it's not possible to have a business like this. So-
Essentially
Yeah.
We're
not.
going to be in the same
And
situation.
so we cannot be forbidding, because it's
We effectively would still have zoned it completely out of the town.
Anyone else on the board? Any questions of council? All right. Mr. Simpson, did you have anything to add?
No.
All right, then I'll consider the public session closed. All right, excuse me, public hearing. Got too many things on my mind tonight. Okay, the public session, the first person signed up, and the ground rules are
Pass that
on the
around.
public session, 5-minute limit, and I actually do have a stopwatch.
I dare you to use it.
Pardon?
Pass that around, please.
I've used it before. Norrell Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A good politician always opens with a hearty joke, but they are never limited to 5 minutes, so I'm going to come straight to the point. The easiest word to use in the English language is no, but I urge you, Alderman, tonight, put that word aside and listen to what me and Tom Ritter have to say with an equanimity. Words like felicitation and volunteer help, those are things that you want to think about. Some years ago, he and I worked up this view stand, and we were going to locate it at the Methodist Church. We had the Boy Scouts coming. They were going to be organized by the Rotary Club, do a lot of the building and use it as merit badge teaching. Lowe's was going to supply all the lumber, and the church was all on board until the deacons met and said, "Oh my God, what about liability?" Well, fortunately, you guys are not in that position. You have liability coverage. Look at what you're going to do tomorrow, the biggest fireworks in western North Carolina. So what we're concerned about is that those of us who live here do not get to see on a permanent basis the magnificent view that all these tourists come up to see. When you're on 28 going towards Sanderstown Road in the Recycle Center, briefly you can see a magnificent stretch, but it goes by just in a few seconds, and of course you have to keep watching the road. What if we had a way where you could go and visit this kind of view anytime you wanted? Well, you hold it in your hand. Some 20 years ago, you closed the landfill that was on Radio Hill Road. That's now grown over with, it's grass covered, the radio flyers use it for their airplanes, and it's I've been up there a couple of times. It's a very benign environment. There's nothing you smell. We do have to investigate, and I think the mayor is pursuing this, whether we're legally enabled to build a structure on top of that. But what Tom and I would come up with is probably something like they have at the intermediate school, an outdoor classroom, roughly of a V shape. You would sit here, look at the views, and the dotted line represents a roof, so that if the sun was too hot or the rain was coming down, you'd have some protection. And this would be an ideal spot for adults to come with their kids and family, and if you wanted to have a reunion, maybe there'd be a barbecue pit, that sort of thing. But this would be something that is for the folks in Macon County. It's not something that I'd want the Tourist Bureau to advertise, or that we'd have the public visiting us go up and use. This is the benefit of living here. And Tom and my aim tonight is to get you curious, to go up, look at the property on Radio Hill, discuss it, because we'll take it on and do the project, but we need your go-ahead. Thank you.
When you said y'all would take it on and do the project, are we talking about paying for it as well? I mean, how would
There's a really good chance that things like the Men's Association, the Baptist Men's Association, and the Rotary in town would be able to provide the labor, and Lowe's did it once for me. I can't imagine that they wouldn't be forthcoming a second time. I quoted $20,000 as an outside figure when you and I met at your house. It might be less than 5. Probably the roofing would be the main expense.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Darrell. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. We'll take it under consideration, and I think sketching the board kind of new here, so.
Well, if you get the chance to go look at that view and see if that's,
I've been up there many
if that
times.
makes sense. I haven't had the opportunity, I just had a visitor at my house over the weekend. So, we looked at this thing a while back, and on United Methodist Church property, we needed to elevate that platform to look above the trees and that. We may not need to do that out at this site to be able to see that. It could be as simple as a slab or a platform. Obviously, it's gotta be safe, it's gotta be handicap accessible, you gotta have handicap access, parking, and that type of thing. We've dealt with Arthur out of Job Corps, and some of the contractors in town, I can guarantee you, are willing to make it a learning experience for either the high school shop class or the Job Corps or somebody else, and it's a fun thing to do when you get out there and do something that you don't normally do all the time. You know, it really is fun to tell these guys how to do it as opposed to just telling them how to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Norrell. All right. Ms. Palmer, welcome.
Good evening. I've never spoken before, group before, so I'm going to speak. My name is Joan Palmers. I'm a resident of Macon County, and tonight the Franklin Council will be voting on a resolution to guide the town toward 100% renewable energy by 2050, presented to them at their June meeting by Auburn Friedman of the Canary Coalition. It sounds like a daunting task, but look at what has been achieved environmentally in the last 33 years. 2050 is 33 years from now. Solar energy farms all across North Carolina, wind farms, and electric cars. Speaking of electric cars, there's an interesting article that says that gas-powered cars will vanish in 8 years. And what the cost curve says is that by 2025, all new vehicles will be electric, all new buses, all new cars, all new tractors, new vans, anything that moves on wheels will be electric globally. Professor Seba from Sanford University writes in his report. The only thing stopping this, of course, is price. By 2022, when the prices go down to $20,000, the tide will be unstoppable. Franklin can join Boone, Watauga County, Silva, Webster, Waynesville, Chatham County, and most recently Asheville, who are on board with a similar resolution under the auspices of the North Carolina Climate Solutions Coalition. At a recent U.S. Conference of Mayors in Miami, there were bipartisan support for 100% renewable energy. The main theme of the annual meeting, which represented the mayors of 1,408 American cities, was that local government can take a larger role in shaping American policy on a range of issues, supplanting the federal government. Michael Bloomberg said at that conference, we'll expand our work to empower more mayors to lead the fight against climate change so that America can meet the goals it set in Paris. A move toward renewable energy could be among the most consequential steps taken by cities. So, we want Franklin to get on board the green train and sign the yes on the resolution tonight. Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you so much.
That's it.
Angela Faye Martin, welcome.
I'll be very quick. I'm not a county, I live in the county, so I apologize for speaking, but I'm the environmental leader of Forward Franklin. I'm the Environment Committee leader of Forward Franklin. And there are a number of us. I don't know if you're in Forward Franklin, you might want to stand up and show your support of the climate resolution. Here, a lot of us wore green, the ones that got the memo. I just want to say, I want to make myself available to you all from this point forward. I've been all of my adult life studying the environment, and I call myself a naturalist. With humility, I would say that I forgot more than a lot of people understand about what's happening with climate to our southern Appalachian mountains. With birds, you have one of the most local preeminent birders on your council, so we couldn't be luckier. Yeah, if it's not a no-brainer for you, with zero smugness, I implore you to avail yourself of me and any information I can provide to you about what's at risk with respect to climate in our forests. I have asthma, so I'm very biased about clean energy. I just got back from Vermont, just really quick. I stayed at a friend's house, an old friend that I hadn't seen in ages upon ages, and she now lives up there. She lives in a farmhouse about 100 more square feet than the farmhouse I live in. And they have a single solar panel that doesn't even go, I mean, it's tinier than what it would fit in this room beautifully. They pay $76 a month for it. Some months, even in Vermont, they have enough energy to sell back to the local energy provider. And they're, he runs the local land trust, so he's their Sharon Phelps Taylor, and she works at Vermont Public Radio, and they're just one of many citizens up there that, you know, can prove that where there's a municipal will, there's a way. And I'm so excited to have this council. You guys are incredible, what you're doing with Crawford Branch, the way you treated us with respect to the Climate March, just made me feel so hopeful about the future of this community. And anyway, you know where to find me. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hickman, Lauren Hickman?
All right, thank you. I'll be even more brief than Angela. I just kind of want to reiterate with her, we did have a climate march in April, y'all are all probably aware of, and our turnout was really great. We had between 150 to 200 people, and not a whole lot of advertising. So I feel like it was a real sign that our community is ready for this and does have the will to back the clean energy resolution. I think we owe it to our community, our environment, and our children. I'm not an expert, I'm not a scientist, but I know that I want my kids and grandkids to have the same beautiful land to live on, hopefully, that I have had. So I just urge you to support the clean energy resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on into the new business. The first item is the board action regarding the amendment to the sexually oriented business ordinance. Any discussion from the board? Anybody got anything they want to add or question or comment? All right, I hear none, so Counselor, will you provide us the motion you think would be appropriate?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it would simply be to adopt the ordinance as presented with the 250-foot buffer.
All right, do I hear a motion to that?
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Okay. Oh, certainly. Consideration of the clean energy resolution. I think everybody's had a chance to read that. It's been here for over a month now, and if the board would approve, we won't just read the resolution, if that would be okay, because it's quite lengthy. Any discussion from the board? regarding this motion, this resolution?
All for it.
All for it? Anybody else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Second? All right, all in favor?
Mr. Mayor, before you leave
Yes,
this
sir.
topic, is this too good a time to bring this up, to let it pass?
Yeah, right.
I have put before you, each of you, an article and also a plat of the prior landfill city dump property. This is what the Buncombe County arrangement is, and they are seeking a partner to do a solar project on a property that's stunningly similar to what we have. Theirs is 25 acres. The property here is 29.7 acres. Again, this is just sort of for your further consideration, but I think our intent is next month, there are several things coming together that involve Duke Energy that might avail itself of a good time for more thorough discussion next month.
And I'd like to add, Mr. Collins brought this up, so.
It's, that area, I mean, it could coexist with a viewing pad as well. It's just an area of the town is hidden in plain view, but if you go up there, it needs to get utilized. It really does.
Can we take the sign down that says you can't come in?
Oh, yeah, probably so.
Well, there is a use of it right now. There's a group of people that do fly their radio control airplanes up there, and I think that the law enforcement rifle range is way on the other side, would not interfere at all.
No, it's in the, yeah.
But some of us were at a meeting the other night talking about the solar panels, and it was very impressive. Bill, you were there, or some of the Franklin Forward folks were there. So let's start looking at this. Joe, you want to take it as a project?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you. You got it. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Very quick addendum, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am?
I've talked to the Sheriff Holland, and he has no problem at all.
Okay, good. I didn't know if that might interfere or not. So, now, if somebody wants to make $1 billion real quick, if you can just come up with a battery to store all that you generate. Love to have it. Okay, the next item of business is the reappointment of town tax collector. Madam Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board, required by statute NCGS 105-349, it's the annual reappointment of a tax collector and to fix the term and amount of the bond to be furnished for said tax collector. So tonight before you have a resolution that suggests to appoint Jessie Collier to reappoint her to this position as the town tax collector for a term of 1 year, which would expire the 2nd of July 2018. And it also sets the bond amount of no less than $25,000.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to reappoint town tax collector Jessie Collier for a year.
Be my pleasure.
All right, I have the motion. Second, and all in favor? Congratulations, Jessie. We have a resolution authorizing Mrs. Collier to present some tax collector, collect 2017 taxes. This is not my night. Madam Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board, this is just the tax collector's annual charge to collect the 2017 taxes. So if we could get a motion to do such.
All right. Do I hear such a motion? I'm Larry. Adam? Brandon? Okay, all in favor?
And Mr. Mayor and Board,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Collier has an annual update. She always needs to give the board from the unpaid balances. Around each of your tables is a sheet from her, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Collier.
What we're doing is just providing you with a copy of the unpaid tax register report for the 2016 real and personal property, and also a statement of collections, and our collection rate is 97.29% for 2016.
Well, once again, I'm sorry.
The tax collection rate, 97.29. Does anyone have any questions on the
Very good.
report? You're welcome to address those at any time.
Do we need a motion to accept that, or just information purposes only?
Yes.
Ms. Collier, thank you so much. All right, it's the time of year again for the nonprofit funding pool. Madam Manager, you have some information.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board. As first thing in the morning at 8 a.m., this application will be available online. It's the annual fiscal year 2017-2018 application for the Town of Franklin Nonprofit Funding Pool. The deadline for all applications is at 5 p.m. on Monday, August the 21st. We've also scheduled some dates for the Franklin Press to publish this notification as well. This is just for information, just letting the public know that these are available now.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All right, the Town of Franklin retention schedule. Madam Manager, you're back up.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board, what we have before you tonight is for consideration. It's basically the North Carolina State Retention Schedule. It would behoove this board to go ahead and get this as on file and for the records of town staff, so we could move forward with some disposing of some records that are way past the due date.
I don't know how many people are aware, but the state requires us to keep records of, I don't know, it varies depending on what the record is. And some of it goes pretty long ways back. So, it's okay, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt this retention schedule as presented. Second? Second. All in favor? All right, Madam Manager, you have some tax releases?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board, this is just for information for the board tonight. We had an overpayment for 2016 taxes for CoreLogic Tax Services in the amount of $30.32. I went ahead and released this, but I needed to bring it before the board to let you know that we've done such.
Okay. You don't need a motion, just acceptance, okay? All right. Mr. Setzer, you're up on the update on the fish habitat study at Memorial Park.
Good evening, board, mayor. Here tonight to give an update on the Memorial Park restoration project that's been going on for about 2 years now. And yes, there is fish in Copper Branch at Memorial Park. I think when we go through, you'll be kind of surprised at how many fish are actually there. So first, let's make a little PowerPoint to show the evolution of the whole project. So back in July 2004, the town applied for a grant through Duke Energy's riparian funds to repair the stream bank along Crawford Branch that runs through Memorial Park. In August of 2014, we were awarded a $20,000 grant from Duke Energy. The town at that time also added $22,000, which was some was funding and some was in-kind money, on top of other funds from May County Soil and Water, TVA, Mainspring, Fish and Wildlife, to add to the fund, to the project, to other projects. Before this was done, some people might remember, the Crawford Branch that run through the park was eroding really bad. The stream was actually pretty wide, it's shallow. The only place that was kind of had any depth was right there on the side of the culvert where there's that pool where all the kids would play, which they still play in today. There was no root base or any trees or any vegetation along the bank. The banks were pretty much almost straight up and down and just full of sediment going into the water, which had a really bad water quality. And of course, no shade, which is vital for good fish health and stream health. Increases temperatures. Fish like cooler water, they don't like warm water. So I've got a few pictures. This was right before we started the project back in the winter of 2015. This is what it looked like. And you can see this is the area on the south side where the pool is, and you see how some of the banks are straight up and down. This was on would be the north side near the basketball goal. You can see how it was eroding. This section's fallen in. You see the old concrete pad which was removed by our town public works And even down the section towards the lower end of the park, where we had the concrete that was put in, probably long, 30, 40 years ago, trying to stabilize the bank back then, it was still undercutting it as well, the creek was. So the project, after it was broke up into 3 phases. As I said, it began back in the winter of 2015. Phase 1 would be the sloping of the stream bank and installing matting and live staking. The matting to get that good base, and then the live staking to start getting that root base that we need for the stream health. Phase 2 included planting native trees and building a fence to define a mow line. So when our public works was down there mowing, they didn't start slowly creeping down the bank and start cutting down the vegetation, which actually has a purpose. It's not just, some people think it's just weedy, which it is, but you need that base to have the bank strong and healthy. And then phase 3 would include a rain garden for stormwater and remove the culvert and replace it with a bridge for better fish habitat and make the park look better than just have that culvert through there. So once it started, this was kind of the spring of 2015. You can see this was after it started, and some of it was being sloped with matting and some seeding put down. And then here's another view of it on the lower side with our members from Macon County Soil and Water and our Public Works, putting more matting down and putting down straw and live staking as well. Then here's our tree when they were being delivered. All the native trees in North Carolina, there's no invasive trees down there. And then there was 15 different species planted at the park to have that root base that's required for it. And as you can see in this picture, this is right after they were planted with the steps that we put in, so that anybody that wanted to go into the pool like they have been able to for years still can. We also had signs made for all of the trees, the native trees, with their common name and their scientific name, with their species. And those have all been mounted on the fence around the park, so anybody that goes down there, they can learn what this tree is, and its scientific name. And this was a picture of it as of June the 27th, a couple weeks ago, when myself and a couple of people from Mainspring, Mayor Scott, Town Mayor Willard, and Lisa Leatherman from Duke Energy were down there, and we were doing a fish study, which I'll get into here just in a minute. So you can see the difference. It's changed just in a year, from a little over a year. So the benefits, like I said, the benefits are already shown of what we've done down there. A stream health study has been conducted for the past 17 years, and I've got some of those some of you might have seen them. I've got a couple copies here. I know Barbara, the mayor, has seen those. So there's been a study done every year at the same time in the middle of the summer to see the health and the life of the stream. For the past 16 years, the Crawford Branch at Memorial Park is either ranked poor or very poor during this study. It's done yearly by Bill McCartney of Mainspring. So this year, after all the work that was done, and you can see that in that sheet that I sent out, you can see the rankings, and we're not got full rankings back, but our rough estimate shows that it's went up 8 points, which will take us out of the poor category into the fair category, which is right in the middle. Only we've got good and excellent after that. So just in 1 year, we've raised 8 points. There was 334 fish collected and released back into Crawford Branch in about a 4-hour period on June the 27th. 7 different species were identified and collected. Last year, just some more of the benefits, last year a high number of disease and parasite were found on crayfish and fish in the park. This year, no disease and no parasites were recorded, none at all. So that was, Mr. McCarney said it was pretty amazing to see that much of a change in 1 year. Here are some of the species that were identified. 7 central stone rollers, 70 smoky days, which was a record high, most we've ever had down there, which are a fish that needs to live in clean water. The water's polluted, they're not going to survive. So seeing an increase in a record high is really encouraging. 121 black-nosed dace, 80 creek chubs, 3 white suckers, which is a fish that lives probably in polluted water. And this number was down from last year, so seeing that decrease is another good indication that what we're doing is we're going in the right track. Then 12 northern hogsuckers and 21 molten sculpins, or 41, sorry. And I've got a few of the pictures. These were courtesy of the mayor, who got this trusty camera that morning. You can see one of the crayfish, and that's a molten sculpin there. And then here's a picture of a smoky dace. As I said, this was the one that we had the record high of that thrive in clean water. Some of the other things that have been done at the park is information signs have been installed. Here's the one that's currently available that can be viewed, and it shows before and after pictures of the park. This gives education of why we're doing it, our partners, just the benefits of why we do this. It's not just to plant trees and make it look nice, it's to support the ecosystem of our town. And it's a learning experience for children and school kids and college kids. They could go to this area and use this as an example site. Some of the partners, like I said earlier, here's some of our partners, which was us, Duke Energy, Mainspring, TVA, and Fish and Wildlife. What still needs to be done? Of course, the bridge. We haven't completed the bridge project. That's still on the to-do list. The funding come in higher than what our grant and our fundings that we had available, so that's something we have to look at in the future if it's something that we still want to do. Another one that's going to probably be installed hopefully and then within the next month is a watershed sign. Duke Energy was really adamant they wanted to see a watershed sign and where the watershed is for Crawford Branch. That picture you see with that raindrop is the draft drawing of the watershed sign that we're planning to have installed down there hopefully within the next month. More community awareness of trying to get our community to keep park clean, take care of it. We still see lots of trash around the park, people not throwing their trash away, just throwing it down in the grass. So that's something that people need to do, try to do a little better at, take care of a park that's in their town. Another one that's kind of just wasn't originally, but was a pet waste station. Something we need to look at to add down there. There's lots of people that go walk their dogs and their pets down there, and then they'll clean up after the dogs. And try to urge them. This goes along with more education because there's children, there's a playground, and there's a lot of it can do more harm, especially to a child if they're young, and get into pet waste. Then of course we're also planning another fish habitat sign to be along the creek as well to show what fish is in there and the benefits of how it's helping the fish habitat. And of course, in conclusion, the benefits that we've seen, like I went over, is cooler water temperatures. The water temperature down there the day of, from the example, was 60 degrees. So with more depth and the cleaner water, we hope to see that can go down. For stable creek banks, so we don't have the erosion and the sediment into the creek. The good root base, which is also goes along with the stabling of the creek banks. As the trees that are planted continue to grow, right now we're not having a lot of shade because the trees are very adolescent trees that are just a couple of years old. But as those trees grow and we'll eventually get more shade over the water, you'll see more of a fish habitat down there. The park has become an educational site. I was hoping, some items that we did originally were, the signs for the trees, kind of hoping to make it kind of like a mini arboretum with the trees, so earth science classes and biology classes could come down there and look at the trees and identify them and just use it as an education with all the other signage and the benefits that we've added to the park. Of course, better water quality, which is we're already seeing, healthier fish habitat, and a unique identity, which is a big part in just economic development, trying to have parts of a community that is unique, that's different from other places that people can go and enjoy. It's better to have an identity that's unique and we don't look like everybody else, something that people want to draw to and want to go to. So, if you got any questions, open to questions. I've got any questions on the paper that I handed out.
You know what I'd like to say, it's amazing what nature can do if you give her a chance. I mean, to see that kind of improvement in a year is just remarkable. And are all the trees healthy?
Yes, all of them. We had to replace just one over the one got damaged over the winter, and but other than that, all the trees are doing real good. She had the individual we bought them from over in Hayesville. He came last year and actually helped make sure I had the identity of all the trees right, and
It's not so easy.
especially when there was no leaves on them. And he said they all looked great, they were doing great, and there was the one that he said we needed to replace, and we replaced it. And I think it was actually a Buckeye, I think, was the one we had to replace. So.
Oh, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any possibility, the Crawford Branch really, I don't know, how far is it? A couple of miles, I guess.
It starts up in Bear Cove.
Right.
And then of course goes all the way to there right behind Big Bear Park, into the wetland there.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful if we could take a couple of more of those places and get some vegetation, tree cover. And years ago, Barbara, you remember the Crawford Branch watershed stuff. It was huge. You probably remember it. It's about that thick. I just want to commend what all y'all have done. It's been wonderful.
And also the flood control issue, because this handles water a lot better than the channel that was there before.
Yeah. Well, and it's our town crews did a lot. They were, the one doing a lot of it. And I asked them something a little they had to learn and something out of the ordinary, but they got in there and went to work and were eager to learn too, and they all seemed interested in what they were doing and knew it was going to benefit our town.
The Mainspring people have commented on how much they enjoyed working with that.
We really appreciate that. Any other real big projects you got cooking right now? The River District overlay?
River District, yeah, that's a big one. Still getting lots, gathering information in planning board in July. We'll have Tommy Jenkins come and talk about economic development for businesses for it. So don't have any planned speakers after that, so we might start after that, get talking a little bit more into what we've learned and who we've heard from. Always got lots of ideas. I'm always telling some ideas. They told me no on a lot of them yet, though.
All great projects come from an idea.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions of Mr. Setzer? All right. Madam Manager, you wanted to add an item for I, and we approved it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board. I just wanted to get some direction from the board tonight. The property that the town owns located at 381 East Main Street. Currently, Life Springs Church has been our tenant. They've recently notified the town that they've got another facility in mind. I know probably it's been maybe over a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, the town board at the time originally surplus this property, so it has been deemed surplus property. We also at the time tried soliciting bids. We did receive 2 bids at the time, but they were way below value price. Value price of the property from the appraisal done about a year and a half ago is $126,000. So I just wanted to get some direction from the board. Maybe it would be time to consider maybe listing it, putting some bids out there for a real estate agent, or just some directions or suggestions the board may have.
I'd love to sell it. You could sell it.
Yeah, we need to be a little more aggressive and get, don't want to just handpick one realtor over another. If there's a way to give them all a chance, but to get it out there in the MLS and whatever it takes so that they all can have a chance of getting a fair commission for bringing the sale to the purchaser. Yeah, we need to get that one.
Since we've surplused it, I don't think you need a motion, anything, you just need your marching orders.
If that's the will of the board, that's okay. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's kind of where we were, if we could maybe move it forward.
Summer and I had some discussion about this, and I was trying to remember, I know that when the old town hall was originally surplus, I think we did make some sort of offer to real estate agents, and I can't remember how you remember how we did it, Joe?
No, but, you know, you gotta make it worth their while to, we just give a percentage, we just offer a percentage.
Because I don't guess it was ever listed, but did it ever go on? I don't know how you get access to MLS without a listing agreement with somebody.
We'll figure that out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, couple of announcements. The town of Franklin will be having our July the 4th celebration at the gazebo, and we'll start forming up the parade at 9:30 here in the parking lot. Madam Manager, did you want to comment on any of the other activities?
Certainly, I would love to. The parade will begin tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then from 10 to 1 p.m. we'll be having free watermelon and free popcorn as long as it lasts, as much as we can put out in that amount of time. We'll also be having a kids zone that will open at 10. We'll have Iowa Street closed. Starting at 10:30 tomorrow, we have the second annual Mr. and Miss Firecracker Contest, which is always fun to see the kids come out. And then at 11 tomorrow, one of the favorites is the Patriotic Pet Costume Contest. And I really appreciate the board, your support and being willing to be judges and participate tomorrow. It means a lot. And we hope the public will come out tomorrow. And it is a rain or shine event.
Can't cut off the fourth.
Okay, all right, anything else about the 4th of July celebration? Okay, and of course, town hall offices will be closed tomorrow in observance of the 4th. All right, let's go around the board just a minute and see if there's any, it's not quite 8 o'clock yet, so any comments, concerns from anybody on the board?
No concerns, just one more time tell Justin and everybody involved with the Memorial Park and just everything about that whole project, especially the educational side of it. It's fantastic. Hopefully, you pass a lot of information on people who continue to do that in their own lives.
Second that, I want to thank the board for going ahead with the environmental resolution. I was pretty excited to be part of that. I think it's a very, very positive step.
Anything from the bird community?
Well, I'm sure there are lots of birds out at the old landfill, so I'd love to have a little viewing platform I could go out and observe.
What would you say, our greenway seems to be a major place of birding.
Oh, it is. It's on the North
From
Carolina
everywhere.
Birding Trail.
From everywhere. Wow. Miss Patty?
I think everybody's covered in.
Come up with something. Mr. Collins?
No, I'm different.
Okay, one thing I would like to mention, and it doesn't require a vote or anything, but I've been thinking about it more, and I know Mr. Collins has as well. I think it's time that this board decides to do whatever we're gonna do with the Whitmire property. That's been up there long enough. We need to decide if it's gonna be public, private, or a combination of the two. But we really do need to start moving on that. That end of the town is, there's a lot gonna be happening down there with Mainspring, the tribe, and around the mound. And I think it's, how many years has it been, Mr. Collins? About 6, 7 at least. So we really do need to be getting ideas and seeing what we're gonna do with that property. It's kind of a bad situation that we haven't done anything with it. And, it's not going away, that's for sure. So come up with the ideas.
Get
of what
somebody
we-
to help us with the feasibility study?
I think, haven't we had some feasibility studies?
We have,
You know,
we ran into a little bit of a snag with the School of Government. I don't know if they're just not interested or,
Maybe we'll see them at the city.
I hope so.
Tommy Jenkins can help us some.
That'd be a
He
good
promised to, hadn't pushed him on yet.
right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Chief Rohrer, Chief Adams, you guys got anything you want to bring before the board tonight?
Ask everybody.
You do?
No, fine, thank you.
Well, you just wave it. Okay.
Well, we got
All right,
When's Fallon's going now?
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
And goes through when?
2 weeks.
Will there be something in the newspaper about that
Yes, there should be.
and whatever else we don't?
Yes, sir.
Starts Thursday. It's for 2 weeks. Yeah, it's over 2 weeks.
Just so you know that I didn't leave any stone unturned. I looked at the Whitmire property really long and hard, but concluded it was not suitable for a view stand.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. No further comments or concerns. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So we're.
We seem to have all kind of enthusiasm. All in favor of adjournment? Okay. Thanks, sir.
Hey, Mr. Collins, how was the cruise?
The cruise?
Yeah, oh, the outfit. You back from a cruise or something?
Well, I am going back to Alcabama.
That route that you got there, isn't it?